Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the country's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got one for you today. Scouting for Girls makes some of the greatest radio records ever. And they're back on tour this year. You can find out more by going to their website, scoutingforgirls.com. And they'll be appearing in Oxfordshire at the Cornbury Music Festival from the 7th to the 9th of July this year. I'm delighted to say that Greg Churchhouse joins us on the phone now. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
There aren't many people who consistently seem to make great pop records, but records that work on radio, is that deliberate? Because not everybody can do that.
I don't think when we first kind of sat down and started penning the tunes for scouting that we kind of thought about radio so much, but it was just a happy coincidence that they seem to work so well, and we seem to have such a response from radio up and down the country. It's we always do before we put a big single out. We go on a little regional radio tour where we go up and down the length and breadth of the country, popping into all the local stations, and they're always very accommodating. And luckily, they don't mind us sitting around babbling on for a couple of hours.
Is it bizarre when you go on YouTube and you see the millions and millions and millions of hits for "She's So Lovely" or "Heartbeat"? I think they're probably the two best songs you've done. Am I right?
I think so, yeah. Do you know, it's every day is still just really bizarre. You know, it's like today I'm sitting in my back garden chatting to you on the radio. It's just a weird and wonderful life.
Yeah, and then the next minute there you'll be stood in front of 10,000 people. Does that ever become normal?
I don't think it ever becomes normal. It's always still the most exciting thing you can ever do. You can't explain what it's like when you get up on stage and you see everyone there jumping along and singing every word back to you. It's the most heartwarming thing.
When we look at what you're doing this year, the Cornbury Music Festival from the 7th to the 9th of July doesn't get much bigger. When you look at the lineup that you're on with, again, same question I asked earlier, does it ever become normal to have this one stood to the left of you and that one stood to the right? I mean, you're stuck in the middle of all these stars, really, aren't you?
No, it's really weird. It's really bizarre. You're just wandering around and say, oh, it's Bryan Adams over there. Yeah. It's the Kaiser Chiefs. And you're going, well, this is just absolutely mental. But it's so much fun. And Cornbury especially is such a great festival. It has to be the most middle class of all the festivals, though, it has to be said. I think if anyone sponsored them, yeah, it should be Marks and Spencer's, definitely.
Yeah. You got Jules Holland this year, Chrissie Hynde, Pretenders, of course. Sophie Ellis-Bextor will be there. Jack Severetti, Kaiser Chiefs, you, Keane. I guess for you to stand and watch other people is thrilling, but then there's the pressure that you've got to entertain and impress them. Do you get worried about that, or now is it just a walk in the park?
I think there's always a certain kind of trepidation before you go on stage, just so everything goes smoothly and you can put on a good show for the punters. But, you know, I don't think we worry about impressing anyone. We just do what we do and hopefully people enjoy it.
What amazes me about festivals is the technical side, being a radio geek who obsesses about sound. And I guess you have to be obsessed with sound, because the wrong sound man pressing the wrong buttons will make a great band sound crap. Equally, he could make an average band sound amazing. How do they do that where, let's say, Jules comes off and you're on within 3 minutes and they've got to get that right? That's a tremendous skill, isn't it?
I tell you, it bedazzles me every time to see how these festivals work and how proper professionals, because we're just guys who turn up and play with some guitars, but the way your crew and the crew of the festival, you know, just make everything run so smoothly. And even if it doesn't run smoothly and there's a few technical hiccups, you know, it's always sorted and always, you know, because at the end of the day, all you want to do is put on a great show for the punters.
CornburyMusicFestival.com is their website. Let's talk about you then and what you do. Bass guitar, are you the backbone of the band or is it the drums? It's between the two of you, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we like to say me and Pete are we're the driving force behind the band. You know, we let Roy stand out front and do his lead singer thing, and then we just keep it all going. Although we do have to watch him like a hawk, because he likes to change his mind midway through a set. Oh no, we're not going to play this song. Let's play this one instead. Crying out loud, man.
How do you do it? I mean, are you completely off the score now and it's all in your head, or are you still using music? How does it work?
Everything's just kind of ingrained into our brains, I think. It's like, you know, we've never had any kind of musical training, to be honest with you. You know, none of us had any lessons when we were at school. We just literally picked up guitars and kind of taught ourselves. So, you know, we're not exactly the world's best musicians, but I think that kind of helps you in songwriting, and, you know, so nothing's too technical. It's all just very accessible and, you know, very uplifting.
You seem to let the music speak for itself. You don't get caught sort of coming out of clubs, or you don't get caught up in controversy and all that stuff. Was that important to you in the beginning, that the hedonism of the band had to remain behind the importance of the music?
We're just, at the end of the day, we're just three very normal blokes who happen to, get a very lucky break. And we've always kind of, tried to just, we enjoy a few beers and a few choice ales after a show, but we're not ones for the celebrity lifestyle. When we're done for the day, we like to go home and just hang out with friends that we've all known for years, and go down your local pub. There's nothing quite like sitting down the local with the dog, enjoying a nice pint, especially in the sunshine.
Do you ever let the ego get the better of you, or is it just a job? How do you do that? I can see why some people go off the rails in the business you're in, because it's intoxicating, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, I think we're extraordinarily lucky because we've known each other since, we were knee-high to a grasshopper. That if anyone does ever kind of waver out of line, then we'll quite happily browbeat them back into it. There's no divarishness in our band. It's just you're there to play a good show, and once the good show's done, then you can enjoy yourself. Get
back to normality. Can we talk about the writing process? I'm so interested to know how you do it, and when you've got a hit. Something like This Ain't a Love Song, which of course is a love song about not being a love song. How do you do that? Where do you start? Do you start with a tune? Do you start with the words? Do you just dick around and it comes together? How did that sort of song happen?
With the songwriting process, it's Roy who takes the lead. He comes up, it's always like the melody that I think that Roy works on first, and then kind of lyrics come along a little bit later. But he'll come to us with ideas, and we'll just sit down in a rehearsal studio and kind of plod along, and you play them for hours on end, and you're constantly changing things and trying to craft it. The funny thing with This Ain't a Love Song is recorded the demo of it, sent it off to our then MD of our label at the time, and he said, "Oh no, that's not a single." He's definitely eating his words now.
Wow. There's no way of knowing it. I've spoke to stars over the years who say the ones they thought were rubbish end up being the biggest, and the ones that they thought would be the biggest never get released. There's no science to it, is there?
There really isn't. It's just the craziest kind of business in the world, where you could put a product out and that you think is absolutely amazing and it's going to be a stonking hit, and then it's kind of, as you say, it's the ones that you don't really realise.
And I guess there's no convincing the punters. They're either going to stand up and join in, or they're going to sit down bored. They'll tell you immediately.
Yeah, pretty much.
How much of your life is dominated by scouting for girls, and how much of it is just you in the back garden?
It's a nice kind of 50-50 mix, I think, which is really nice. We spend a lot of weekends, especially in the summer, and kind of touring in the winter time. But then you do get, it's almost like having a part-time job, Monday to Thursday you're quite happily at home sorting the house out, and then at the weekends you're off travelling around the country.
What was the pinch me moment when you realised you'd made it? Was there a star you met or a show you were on where you thought, right, okay, we're professional now?
2008 we played the Isle of Wight Festival, and it was the first kind of massive festival that we played. And we were standing backstage and we're going, yeah, we're going to rock this, it's going to be amazing. And we walk out, and there's 60,000 people standing there waiting, and Roy looks at me, I looked at him, and we had a brown trouser moment, I think. It was just an epic sight to see that many people. And then as soon as you start playing, everyone's jumping along and singing, and that's when you kind of know, wow, this is going somewhere.
Without being cynical about the business, because I know it's easy to sort of say, oh, nothing's as good as it was, but do you think you'd struggle today to have the same success as you did back in the early 2000s? Because it seems to me there is virtually no opportunity for a new band to get legs, to grow, to fail, to succeed, to eventually become as big as you are. It has changed, hasn't it, in the last 10 years? Almost iTunes has ruined it for everyone.
Yes and no. I mean, it's definitely changed. I think it's a lot harder to get longevity out of your career, but if you've got an amazing song, which is the most important bit I think about being an artist, that you can find a way to get it out there. So everyone's got a computer that they can install some song recording software on, so you can make a product. But then there's so much of that out there, it's just so difficult to kind of push yourself to the top. It's it'd be really hard. I'm not sure how we do it. I mean, we were lucky enough that we had MySpace, and social media was just kind of getting big then, and we managed to use those tools. But now it's great. I feel sorry for up and coming artists, I really do.
And I think it's the same in anything now. TV, radio, live, to get seen is the hardest thing. It's all very well having the best product, but how do you break through to get people to notice you? That's the biggest trouble, isn't it? Because there's so many people trying.
Yeah, I think that's where kind of like, record labels really come into their own. Like years ago, they were saying like, record labels, you don't need them anymore, you can do it all yourself. But they're the people with the expertise, and they know exactly kind of what to do to give you that, push in the right direction.
What's your ambition now as we sit here? I mean, you've done so much and you've succeeded. You've beaten the war of longevity and success. You've pushed the million record mark. In fact, you're on 2 million. As for Roy, Greg and Pete now, what is left to achieve? Is it just continuing to do it, or do you still have ambition?
The only thing we've ever wanted to do is music, and as long as we can keep doing it, I think we'll be 3 very happy boys. Have
you got budgies in the background, or what's going on?
That's just the plethora of birds that live in the trees surrounding my house. I had to put the dog inside, otherwise he'd have started barking.
Oh, what a beautiful life. Where are you living now? Where are you about?
I'm in West London.
Amazing. There's wildlife in London?
Oh, yeah. I'm surrounded by beautiful trees and leafy avenues. Yeah, it's the rock and roll life, man. I
thought we were already privileged with that in the north. Hey, listen, great to talk to you. Greg Churchhouse is the star of Scouting for Girls. They're on tour throughout 2017. You can see them this summer, 7th to the 9th of July. CornburyMusicFestival.com is the place to go for tickets, and you can find out more by putting in Scouting for Girls. Greg, really lovely to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time.
Cheers, Alex.